Okay. So yeah. Anyway, I apologize for Discord not allowing more people to join. I don't know why it's capping out at 25. I looked at the setting. I have it set to unlimited, but I don't know why it's not working like that. So anyway, I created a live stream. You can go to the live stream. You should be able to hear everyone then through there. Sorry about that. Um, Something to keep in mind going forward. And I'll make sure that that doesn't happen again. Anyway, I think we answered everything. If there's any other questions, let me know. Um,
I also did put in the group chat so that everybody knows I got my name and my number in there. If anybody's got any questions that they want to talk about afterwards, please get a hold of me and I will help you out with whatever I can to get you where we need to be.
Thanks, John. Don't know if anyone heard that, but John basically said if you need to get a hold of him, he said that he put his information out there so you can contact him. And yeah, he's basically happy to help. So with that, um, there was so we're just going through changing a goal or changing a goal after the fact. So what you can do is after you slide from left to right, you can basically select whatever item you want to edit. You slide it to the left, and there will be an edit button there or delete button. You can hit the edit button, and this menu will pop up for a goal or a penalty, and then you can make changes to that specific event. So same thing with deleting. Um, I don't know why, for whatever reason, it does not. The mouse cursor does not allow me to do gestures. So I'll just circle back to that. Anyway, adding a penalty, you can click the add penalty button or the penalty button. The same procedure. So you can type in a time. I'm going to say that this is 12:56 in the second period, and it's to the away team. Number 12 for tripping. And can hit accept. And you see that the penalty was added in there for the tripping, and it basically puts the most recent event at the top. So the older events are at the bottom, most recent events are at the top, and that's how the list will populate. If for some reason you want to see what the score sheets looks like currently, or maybe the referee wants to see like, hey, I just want a quick overview, there's a preview button in the upper right corner. If you hit preview, you could see the score sheet. One second. So you can see that you have the players listed out. Everything's tallied up. You can see that it has suspended players listed in red. And it has the goals, penalties, things like that. There we go. So all the penalties, infractions, the coaches, their signatures, the notes, everything like that, and just a little preview that says that, hey, this is just a preview, this isn't finalized. So referee can look at that, or the scorekeeper can look at that and kind of get a general idea of like what's going on. This is useful if you're like trying to count penalties for like 12 penalties for game misconduct, things like that. Really useful feature to use.
May
So
I say something? Or
yes,
they,
yeah,
I just want to.
I'll repeat what you said.
Okay, I just want to remind them that if there's a timeout or an injury, that I would like them to put those in the notes section too.
Janice was just making a point to remind everyone that if there's a timeout, to put that in to the app or into the notes section. So you can come over to finalize, type in something along those lines, just to kind of give information of who took the timeout, the time of the timeout, and which period it was in. So, and that's generally the work, the steps you would go through for doing that. So, once the game's over, you go to finalize the game. The referee can look at the preview. He can tally up what he needs to tally up, and then you'll have the referee sign. So at least one referee needs to sign, either referee or linesman. So they'll select their appropriate position. They'll sign their name. They'll hit the little check mark, and you'll be good to go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over errors that the app will try to help you out with, so that you don't miss anything, and it'll try to remind you. So it'll say, "Oh, please enter a phone number." So you can enter in a phone number for scorekeeper. Just kind of one of those things that like, hey, this is what you missed. You can finalize the game, and then there's two errors here. It says head coach, example coach has not signed and is listed as active. Away penalty number 12 for tripping at 12:56 in the second period does not have an off time. So what does that mean? For the head coach, basically it's saying that, hey, the home head coach didn't sign. So the coach should have signed before the game started. I think the head coach is the only one that needs to sign. Basically, the coach will then sign, basically saying like, hey, my roster's good. And we took care of that error. Now, the other error is basically that this tripping penalty does not have an off time. So in case a goal was scored or the period ran out or the end of the game or the game was curfewed, that's what the off time represents. So hopefully this is the last time I have to do that. So swipe from left to right. See these options here. Click edit and give this an off time of 10:56. There's a 2-minute penalty. Hit accept, and we've fixed all of the errors. So, and it'll tell you this for each penalty, each coach, each player, things like that. Just say like, hey, these are some things that you should be aware of, that you should fix before submitting the game. So you can hit finalize game. And if you see this upload, what it'll do is it'll upload, it'll send you an email, and both teams will get an email. From there, once you submit your game, you'll see your game appear in your list of games. So we just scored this game for test teams 4 and 2. And then you could view or share the game. Both teams, the home and away team, if the away team has permissions to their team, they will receive an email. If no one has permissions to that team, they will not receive an email. Also, anyone who has permissions to your team, so if your organization manager or organization president wants access to your team or has permissions to your team, they will also get an email. Basically, everyone who has permissions to either team will get a copy of the score sheet. So from there, you can view the game. You can see all of your games, all of the things that happened. You can access this at any time. And if you, for some reason, viewed the PDF and you're offline or you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't have internet access, this is also saved, so you can access, once you download these and once you view these once, you'll have access to them without needing internet access. So from there, if you want to share your game, or if someone didn't get a copy, or if you want to forward them an email, that's up to you. But that's more or less the steps for scoring a game. Now, one thing that isn't here is scheduled games. So your scheduled games will appear in here. Instead of saying final, they'll say scheduled. Or what you do is you can click on those, and it'll ask you if you'd like to score this game. And provided that you're the home team, you can score that game then for that day, and everything will be set up for you. Both teams will be set up, and then you don't have to go through the process of creating a game. You can just get right into it. Yes.
I'm getting people that are in the chat that are saying they have no audio coming through at the moment for you.
Same here. It's about 4 or 5 people.
About 4 or 5 people we're seeing so far.
Stand by. All right. How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Awesome. Okay. I think it's perfect on the I think it's perfect on the YouTube side too. So for those watching on YouTube now, basically you can hear everyone talking as well. So and if you need to go back to that video, I'll leave it up so you can use it as reference. Anyway, so yeah, I just went over just permissions, who gets emailed a copy of the score sheet, and that's basically anyone who has permissions to either team. And then more or less, I started to go over scheduled games. So scheduled games will have your, they'll say scheduled instead of final. They'll just say scheduled. You can click on them, and provided you're the home team, because that would be the only time that you would actually be scoring a game, you would just select that game. It'll say, would you like to score this game? You click score game, and then it just sets everything up for you. So you don't have to go through the whole process of creating a game. And hopefully after the scheduling meeting, your schedules will be right in the app for you. So you won't really have to go through this process of setting things up for the season. So anything anyone wants me to cover specifically, or anything anyone wants me to go over again, like setting up teams or requesting permissions, things like that, or just any general questions for me or anyone else on the call?
Hey, Greg, this is Ed Fess.
Yes.
Okay. So on setting up the teams, so I've got the app open, and so the manager for the 13U Rochester Youth Sesniak team. Right now, the team is not under my teams, so I clicked on it and said request permissions. I probably can't add any players or anything like that until I get permissions, right?
No, so you can add permissions.
You can add permissions.
So what I'll do is I'll show you how to do that.
No, Greg, what he's got to do is he's got to put his team in there first before he gets permissions. His team is not in there for the My Team category.
Oh, I see. Thank you for the clarification, John. So yeah,
Thanks, Jay.
wait, were you able to hear John?
Yes, I was. I can hear John and Janice also.
Oh, awesome. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So
Can you?
yeah.
Okay, let me click on that. Yep. There we go.
So what you do is you just go over to request permissions, and if your team's not listed, you can hit add team.
Yep.
And then you just fill out
Okay,
your
I
team.
did do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you found your team in the list.
Right, and then it says, "Do you want to request permission?" I said yes.
Okay, one second. I don't see any pending permissions requests. So if you could, I don't know if John just approved it, but
Okay.
maybe restart the app or request permission again.
Okay.
And let me know if that fixes the issue.
Depending on the team, guys, I'll do it as quick as I can. I'm answering questions from people, which is fine. That's what I'm asking people to do. So I've got 3 different screens going at once. So as quick as I'm trying to get them back out so people can get.
All right. We'll try rebooting the app, see if that works. Yeah, I tried doing request permissions again, and it said I already have permissions.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. So just restart the app and you'll see that it's in there.
Okay.
But yeah, if you don't get permissions right away, though, you can go into the like you can go set up a game with your team, and then you can add your players in that way. That's just kind of like a hey, in case of an emergency, like you're at an away game or something, and like you need to add a player to your team. That's just kind of like a on good faith thing feature that allows you to do that.
Excuse me, Greg.
Yeah.
Are you able to mute?
Yeah.
Because we're getting a lot of feedback on this side, and I don't know if it's somebody that's unmuted that's in the chat or what the case is at the moment. But we're hearing you multiple times at once, and that's no good for anybody, obviously.
Okay. I think it's fixed now, so we're good. Okay, so the next question was, can you please repeat how to set up permissions? So yeah, kind of just went over that, or glossed over it a little, but basically, you go over to My Team, click Request Permissions. If your team isn't listed, so if you're looking for a specific team, if it's the Regals, if it's the Bisons, if it's Power City, whatever team you're looking for, if it's not listed in there for your age group, then you'll have to create that team by clicking the Add Team button. Once you add your team in, if you fill this information out and you click the Add button, you'll see your team appear in here. You find your team, and I don't know, I'll select this one. It'll ask you if you'd like to request permissions. You select yes. It'll say successfully permission request. Yeah, I got to change that. But basically it'll say like, hey, you successfully requested. And then just wait, and then you'll have permissions to your team. So we'll look at it, review it, and then give you permissions. But I mean, if you've requested permissions and it's been like 2-3 days and you haven't gotten permissions yet, then definitely reach out in the general channel, or reach out to me or John. We'll get you straightened out. But it shouldn't take more than a couple days to get you your permissions for your team. Once you have permissions, you'll see your team appear in here. You can just select either if you're on multiple teams or if you're on one team, you select your team that you want, and then you can start adding your players and coaches through here. Or like I mentioned earlier, you can just set up a game by clicking the green plus button on the game screen, and finding your team specifically, and then adding your players through actually scoring a game. And you don't even have to submit the game. You can just add your players in there and then like close out. One thing I wanted to touch on is don't worry if the app crashes. I've been pretty good about fixing hard crashes, especially during scoring a game. But one of the features that I added was a backup feature. So even if for some reason you try to add a penalty and the app crashes, all of your information will be saved, and it'll say, hey, do you want to restore your game? And you can just select yes. Once you do that, it'll take you back into your game, and you'll be able to continue right before the app crash. So you might be missing like one penalty or one goal, but more or less it'll restore you to back where you were. So yes, so this you will have to enter in your players. You'll have to enter them in. Basically just one time for the year, or one time for the beginning of the season, and then like any changes you need to make or like add or remove players to stuff like that, more or less will just kind of be like a one and done thing. So it shouldn't take too long. to do that. Apparently there's having more audio issues with me, so one second. How's that? Is that better? Okay, cool. So yeah, I think I'm all caught up with any questions. Is there anything else anyone wanted me to go over again, or anything specific? Do you have permissions to your team? Are your teams set up? John or Hare, if you have any questions. Or you can just unmute and ask your question that way too. There was a question from YouTube, which was, how can we get a redemption code for test flight? And I did not post that link in there, but what I will do is I will send the link to that form in the chat, on the Google chat, so in the YouTube chat, I mean. So yeah, basically fill out that form. You'll get sent an email for test flight with instructions from Apple on how to get set up for test flight. Basically, would the email say like, "Hey, you've been invited to test out the Western New York Scoresheet app." It'll tell you to install test flight. Once you install test flight, go back to that email and then click accept invitation. From there, it'll open up test flight and you'll be able to start testing. It'll ask you if you want to start testing, to agree to the, I guess, agreement, terms of service, things like that. And then you'll be able to get into the test flight program. If you need to make an edit to a player or coach, how do you do that? For the time being, just reach out on general in the Discord to. One second. I will post a link to that in general chat. Or sorry, I'll post a link to that chat in. Yeah, so just ask for a change to your player. Just identify your team, who you are with, the age group, the division, and then the player you want changed. So if you want player number 98 changed to number 13, you just gotta say like that, just like that. So we are working on a website that will allow you to kind of manage this a little bit better. And with that, I know a big request from everyone last season was standings. So we are in the process of developing a website. It does have standings, so I'm gonna show that off right now. Just give me a second. So you're gonna have to hop into the feed, but so with this website, you'll be able to use your existing app login. So the login you use for the Scoresheet app is going to be the same login that you can use for the website. You don't need to be logged in to view standings, but if you wanted to manage your team or anything like that, you could do that. And those features are still in the process of being rolled out. So just kind of bear with us. But the main thing is standings, and how that's going to work is you're going to come to this page, select all divisions, select your age group, So I think 18U actually has games in there. And these, there's an update that'll break these up by the actual division colors. But more or less, what this will do is as soon as you submit a game, using the Scoresheet app, these standings will update automatically within probably like 3 minutes. And basically it'll calculate your wins, your losses, ties, points, stuff like that. So using the standard NHL, I think head-to-head formula is what they call that. And it'll tell you your goals for, goals against, things like that. So that's kind of what we have for standings. So at least there's like a website that you can go to and you can kind of see like, hey, like, you know, how are people in my division doing, stuff like that. So, and there'll definitely talk about that a little bit more tomorrow for the general. Any questions on the app or the website or anything in general?
Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I apologize. I missed the beginning trying to get in here. Are we supposed to input the schedule on this tomorrow?
No, we will. I think everyone, and Janice can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we should have all of your schedules in a like spreadsheet. So we're going to just kind of take those and we'll do the data manipulation that we need to do in order to like import those into our system. But as provided you submitted that spreadsheet or someone submitted that spreadsheet that has all your games, we can cross-reference that and we'll just populate all your games for you.
Beautiful. I'm literally finishing it now. I'm waiting for a couple more texts, and I will send that to, I'm assuming, Janice tonight. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
They'll need to submit that via email and also bring a hard copy to the meeting.
Yep, absolutely. Just waiting on a couple things. I'm going to save it, send it off to you, and then I will print it for tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing that holds us up is like when the format gets changed or there's game changes, things like that. So I'm going to post announcements when I'm rolling out schedules. And I'm just going to kind of do them by like age group and then by division. So it'll just kind of go sequentially. And then I'll just post announcements like, hey, I'm getting to this division. So it shouldn't be that tedious of a process, but just kind of want to do in small groups just in case there's any errors or any like major errors that need to be fixed right away and addressed during the import process. So, but yeah, hopefully all those games will be there. So one thing that helps is if the sooner you get your team created in the app, the sooner you'll get your schedule. So please don't wait until your first league game to create your team. That just helps like tremendously to like associate your team with your schedule. And that helps save literally hours of time. So, thanks. Yeah, Jennifer, I did, we are, in the process of working on like actual tutorials. We're hoping to get those out shortly. But I also did record this entire meeting. So, you can kind of like everything that like all the beginner basics, like everything that you would need to know, we did cover in here. So if you have anything specific if you wanted me to go over again, I could go over that. But all of this is recorded, so you can just kind of go back and watch like bits and pieces of like what specifically you're looking for. And what I might do is just timestamp the video, so this way you can just jump to a specific section. And I don't know if there's interest in doing more of these sessions later on in the season, maybe once a month, if that would be helpful, or maybe starting off for the beginning of the season, maybe do like every 2 weeks. If anyone has any questions, just kind of like, hey, ask me anything you want. If there's interest, I'll do more of these. Definitely here to help, me and John, Janice, obviously. So just let me know what you guys want. That would be to Janice. That's who you'd email the score sheet to. Or sorry, not the score sheet, the schedule to. I don't know if she has a specific email.
I'll post the email in the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, or if anyone wants me to run run through something specifically with them, let me know.
Greg, you got one more second?
Yeah, I'll stay here for another 15, 20 minutes, whatever. Just I'm not keeping anyone here against their will. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, real quick. So I have my tablet in my hand from the league, and I'm looking at it, and I see the league's 14U, the league's 12U, and my team, the 10U, and it's showing division green, and we're actually in the blue division. Is that something I need to manually change, or is that something behind the scenes that will get done?
What's your team?
NCCYHA, blue division, 10U.
Who's the coach?
Tony Manzella, myself.
Okay. So it says green. What are you supposed to be? Orange? Or what?
Blue.
Blue. Sorry. All right, it's fixed.
Oh, sweet.
Just restart the app, or just that. Like it'll fix itself.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer, I can do that. So, the first thing was the permission request form. Basically, that was to get permissions to to get permissions to test flight and to the app. So there's it'll ask you like, hey, what's your Apple ID, and then what email do you want to use for your app login. So the hold on 1 second. Let me see if I have an email available. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. All right, I started sharing my screen. You can, for your roster link, you can just say don't have one yet, or NA, or you can just kind of explain like, hey, I don't have one yet, waiting for my registrar or whatever, and then just go from there. As long as you identify like what organization you're with and like what team you're requesting permissions for, that's kind of the majority of that form. So, yeah, so after you complete the form, you'll be sent an email. It'll look something like this. It'll say like, you'll have buttons up here that'll say like, hey, start testing or whatever. But more or less, this will give you all the instructions that you need. Just kind of like explain like how to install test flight. So you'll see an option that says like install or open in test flight. You'll click that. Once you open it, once you install test flight, go back to this email. Click open in test flight. It'll take you to test flight. And it'll ask you like, would you like to start testing for the WNYAHL Scoresheet beta? You click yes or accept, and then you click install. On the iPad, so let's switch back over to the iPad. So it'll show more or less like this, and you'll say install. You click install, and then it'll say open. You click open, and then you'll be presented with a login screen. Now, if you received an email for an invitation to test flight, you'll have access to. You also have been given access to the Scoresheet app, and you'll have received an email that says reset your password. When you reset your password, you'll use that email and that password to log into the app. So I'll log out so you can see what that looks like. So that'll look like this. Basically, you can go in there and enter in those credentials. If for some reason you missed, I think it's like 8 hours, it expires after 8 hours. If for some reason you didn't reset your password within 8 hours, it'll say like, hey, this link expired, which is fine. What you can do is you can enter in your email. And then just hit forgot password, and it'll send you another password reset link. From there, you can go and set your password again. Once you have your password set, it'll you'll log in. It'll ask you to verify your email address, and then you'll be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in to my account. So once you're logged into your account, you won't see any games, but you'll just kind of see like a blank screen. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go over to My Team, and from there, so what you're going to do is you're going to hit Request Permissions, and you can look for your team. If your team's not listed, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the upper right here, and you're going to hit Add Team, and then you're going to fill out your team information, and you're going to hit Add. Once you hit Add, your team will be in this list, so you can go find your team. So the example I used is I created a new team called Test Team 4. You can click on that, and you hit Yes, and it'll say like permission successfully requested, and then you just have to wait for your request to be approved. In the meantime, if you need to start adding players, what you can do is you can go back to the game screen, and you can click this little green plus button, which is pretty much a button that means like create a game, add a new game. So you can fill out your information. And so I'm just going to use the two test teams again, Test Team 2 and Test Team 4. Select your division. The start date, the end date, obviously you'd fill that in, and then you can just select some random rank. The idea being here is that you can just start adding your players and coaches without actually doing it through the, without having permissions to your team. But chances are you'll have your request approved rather quickly. So, I'm going to make sure that all the requests going into the scheduling meeting tomorrow, like all the requests, all the form applications are completely done. So going into the meeting, everyone who applied up until the meeting starts should have permissions to at least install the app and like go through this process. So, and then from there you can add your players and coaches. So to add a player, you click Add Player. You first name, last name, player number, and then their position if they're forward, defenseman, or goalie. You fill it out, and then you hit Accept. And so actually, I'll just show you. You can hit Accept. It's loading, and there you go. You added a goalie. Same thing with coaches. You can hit Add Coach. Fill out the coaching information, coaching level, expiration year, things like that. Hit Accept, and then your coach will appear at the bottom of the list. So the other way to do that, if you have permissions to your team, will be to just go to your team, click on your team, add player, add coach, and it's the same identical steps. Just start typing them in, and you can do it through there. So two ways to do that, or multiple ways to do that. One just requires you to have permissions, the other one doesn't. So does that answer your question? Or do you want me to go further in? Do you want me to go through scoring a game? I think the last 40 minutes have been just scoring a game and editing penalties and things like that. So one thing I should have probably mentioned, if you don't have an iPad, make sure to come see myself or John. We'll be at the head table, the head table off to the side, and we'll have multiple iPads that you can use to like put your team in and stuff like that. So I know there are some teams and some organizations that only have like 1 or 2 iPads. So see us and we'll help you set up your team, and then you can just borrow the iPad so you can get your team set up before you leave. So and yeah, John or myself can like walk you through in between or after the meeting. So yeah. Or if you have another manager or coach that's going to be there, they can come see me too, and same thing. So the big thing is making sure that your team is in there. Okay, no, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah. All right. If there's no other questions, stick around for a few extra minutes. But if there's nothing else, then I'm going to call it a meeting. All right. Thank you, everyone.